This episode of the Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by our proud sponsors, Thrive Fantasy, Built Bar, and ExpressVPN. Now, using promo code DTSN, our listeners can get $20 bonus cash on a deposit of at least $20 on Thrive Fantasy, 10% off their Built Bar protein bar order, and 35% off their ExpressVPN annual subscription. Once again, all you have to do is use the promo code DTSN and tell them the Downtown Rams podcast sent you. Now enjoy the show.
Aaron Donald creates the fumble. Dog goes crashing into the end zone.
It is intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
Robert Wood, touchdown. Picked off by John Johnson. Touchdown, Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air. Henderson with a good run and a first down. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Van Jefferson. Everett in stride. Wow. Play for the Lombardi.
Welcome back, folks, to another Downtown Rams podcast. It is episode 333. I'm your host, Jake Ellenbogen. Unfortunately, unable to join me again is Alexis Kraft. She will be back, but it is just going to be me on this one. So I thought we'd do something fun to start it off. The Rams won 38-28 against the Arizona Cardinals. They improved to 8-4. They're 4-3 away, and they're 2-2 in the division. Third seed in the NFC. Very fun game. You know, the Rams scoring 38, that was definitely needed, definitely wanted. Obviously, giving up 28 is not what anybody wanted for the defense, but the defense played way better than the score indicates. There should have been way more, but I'm going to turn it now. We're going to do a little something different. I'm going to turn it now over to our mailbag, our DTR mailbag. Figured I'd do something with Alexis out, so I put out a tweet. Alexis is out tonight at JKBogaDTSN. Wants to do a mailbag. Drop your questions ASAP before the podcast records. So, just so you know, I'm doing it at 10:41 Eastern Time p.m. Sunday. So, if you put in your mailbag question and I missed it, I'm sorry. But I'm doing it at this time. I did say ASAP, so let's get on with this thing. Frankie Christmas, thank you so much for submitting all of your mailbag questions. I appreciate it. Frankie Christmas asks, what do you think is the biggest key going into the Patriots game? So we're going to, just so you know, but for everyone that's worried about this podcast going right into the Patriots game, we're going to talk a ton about this Cardinals game. But I wanted to give the mailbag questions a shout. Do this before we get into it. And that way we get this out of the way. That way I'm not answering any questions before I get to the mailbag, and that's no fun. So this is a good question. Biggest key, I think, going into the Patriots game is keeping Jared Goff upright. Patriots are a tough defense. Keeping Jared Goff the way he played today, keeping him from making mistakes, putting him in better situations to succeed, using the running backs out of the backfield as pass catchers, and playing your brand of football, controlling the clock. Today, 39 minutes, 39 to 21, or around 39. We're rounding up here. The Rams had a 39 to 21 minute differential for time of possession. So, I mean, they really dominated the game. You're going to want to do that against the Patriots because they're going to be a pain with Cam Newton running powers all game long. Damian Harris is a phenomenal running back that isn't getting enough credit. So I think the biggest key in that game is just control the tempo, control the time of possession, and, play your brand of football. I know a lot of people are scared about Bill Belichick, and I'm not giving this a guaranteed win for the Rams, but I do think that a 6-6 Patriots team, that they might be better than people think, but they're not much better. I do think the Rams should win this game, especially going back home. So I answered that. Rand got beats. He's been Frankie Christmas has as well, but Rand got beats. I mean, he's been around since I first started this podcast with Blaine Grisak. He asks, how good can these running backs be? Now, I think when you're looking at this, Malcolm Brown, to me, is done at the end of this year. And he's a talented player in his own right, but I think when his contract expires, I don't think the Rams are going to bring him back. I think they're going to roll with a dual backfield with Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. How good can they be? I know I've mentioned D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart comparison. I think they can be better. I just think that's kind of the basis of where I could see them ending up. So that's what I'll say. But I definitely think they can be very, very good. They both can be starting running backs in the NFL. To me, I think the Rams have two true starters and one that could start on a select few teams in the league, including the team that wanted to sign him but ultimately had their offer sheet matched by the Rams, and that was the Lions. I think he definitely would have a nice fit there. So just something to throw out there. Thanks again for the questions, guys. Mob Barley, love the name. Do you think the uptick in Akers touches was a result of Henderson being hurt in the game? And this is a great question because, as some of you may not know, Henderson actually left the game with a leg injury for a little bit. He came back, and of course, he had a really nice reception, one of his two in the game. Do I think that was the uptick in Akers touches? I mean, it had to have been because, it was really all Akers at one point. But I think, towards the end of the game, you saw kind of how they want to use these backs. They want to have them complement each other. They want to be able to have, Akers just be that guy that doesn't want to go down, and then have Henderson, who I think Henderson has an underrated ability to really bang down low like a power forward. Obviously, he's 5'8", so that sounds kind of weird, but, he's physical. He's going to run, face wash you, and he's not really going to care. So that's my take on that. Josh Dalton, again, thank you for your questions, asks, why are the Patriots allowed to stay on West Coast this week but the Rams were unable to stay on East Coast when they played Philly, then Buffalo? Great question. I looked at it too. I thought it was really annoying. Matt Egan commented as well. I want to give him a shout out because he said probably because it's a Thursday night game, can't make them fly home and fly back tomorrow. That actually makes a lot of sense. I could definitely see that being the case. So I think Matt Egan probably answered your question, Josh. Unfortunately, I think I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have even thought of that. And I'm not saying that, I just don't think I would have thought of that, even though that's absolutely probably right. When it had been Wednesday afternoon after they flew, they normally fly out day before games. I don't know when they fly. Point is, it's a short week. They wouldn't make them fly home and fly back 2 days later. Makes a ton of sense, Matt. Josh, sorry I couldn't really answer your question. It looks like Matt really answered it for you. If that's indeed the case, I don't know. Maybe they're just out to get the Rams, and that's why. But I wasn't too happy when I saw that. But moving on, the last one here in the mailbag section, we have J.R. Castro. The Rams special teams are extremely disappointing. Do the Rams have anyone else who can return kicks? Webster offers nothing. The kickoff coverage is a concern too. So I'm not going to dog on my guy Webster. He's been on the show, so I'm actually a fan of his, and he's a friend of the show. But what I'll say is that everyone seems to really, it's a tough position. It's a thankless position when you're, unless you're returning it to the house or consistently breaking off 20, 30-yard punt returns, you don't really get the respect, right? You don't get the respect for being, a consistent 10-yard gainer or 15-yard gainer. But then once you fumble, the whole world changes, right? It's the same as the kicker. No one cares about the kicker until they miss. Then all hell breaks loose. So I just kind of look at that like, I think Sybil Webster's fine. Now, they have a guy who they acquired via the waiver wire. They've actually done that repeatedly this year. Recently, they got Derek Rivers from the Patriots, who, of course, they're playing upcoming. Might have some secrets there to spread. And then, of course, they had, they got Justin Hollins, who had a strip sack in this game. They got him off waivers from the Broncos, and they actually got Raymond Calais off waivers, the Louisiana Lafayette running back, Raymond Calais. They got him off waivers, and he is very, very fast. He's a speed demon. He's a return specialist. I think he's a pretty solid running back. Would like to see him used at some point. My buddy, Michael King, he is a huge fan of Raymond Calais. Definitely would vouch for him. Now, he was drafted, pretty interestingly, he was drafted in the 7th round of this past draft, but the Buccaneers didn't keep him. They actually surprisingly cut him, put him on the practice squad, or at least tried to, and the Rams scooped him up that same day. So, I think that'd be probably your next best option. I wouldn't go into running backs because running back is such a dangerous position. I wouldn't want to risk them, getting more, workload. As far as wide receiver, you could look. Van Jefferson might be an interesting one, but aside from that, I wouldn't throw Kupp out there. I wouldn't throw Woods. I wouldn't throw Reynolds. I'd probably say Jefferson at worst. And then you look at like corners, and Troy Hill, he could be an interesting one. I guess it really depends. I'm looking at Simba, keeping his spot, but if he doesn't keep his spot, then I'll say this. Definitely keep an eye out for Raymond Calais, who wears 30, Todd Gurley's old number. So that's what I would say there. So that's it for the mailbag section, unless we just got another one. Nope, false alarm. That was it for the mailbag section. So, yeah, I thought that went over pretty well. Spur of the moment, got a few mailbag questions in there. We'll start doing that more. I want to have more engagement with the audience. I know people say we have a lot of engagement, but I feel like we could do better. I always feel that way. So, glad to throw it out there. Before we get into the Rams-Cardinals game a little bit more, shout out to the New York Giants, Joe Judge's crew. They actually took down the Seattle Seahawks, which means the Rams, by winning this game, are now in first place in the NFC West. When Sean McVay was asked if he really cares about that or if it changes anything, he said it doesn't matter, there's 4 games to go. So, it kind of sets the tone. That kind of shows you where the Rams are at right now. They know that, they have to take care of business the rest of the way, and things, when they seem, too good to be true, they normally are, and beating the 49ers would have put this team at 9-3, tied with the Packers, and would have put themselves in prime position to take over first if the Saints lost to the Chiefs like everyone's expecting them to. But I don't see another loss on that schedule, and so for that reason, I think the Chiefs are going to end up getting, or not the Chiefs, but the Saints are going to end up getting the number 1 seed in the NFC, which really is interesting here because the Rams right now, as it stands, are the 3 seed, and they would be playing Tampa Bay if the season ended. And to play Tampa Bay, of course it'd be in LA, but to play the same team you beat in the regular season, I'm never really too much of a fan of that. That team already knows your tendencies, so it goes both ways, of course. But, both ways or not, I still don't want to play Tampa Bay. I'll just leave it at that. And I'll say this, I don't really want to play the New York Giants, the way their defense is playing. And I wouldn't want to, if the Rams don't get the division win, they won't host a playoff game. They'll have to go to New York as the 5th seed, and they'd have to play the Giants in likely cold weather. I don't like that situation, even though I was at MetLife in cold weather in 2017 watching Jared Goff have one of his best performances ever, but I still don't like it. A team with, nothing to lose and everything to gain, that's a team that I don't want to play, especially when you already beat them in the regular season. But that's how that's looking. So on to this game, right? 38-28. Rams beat the Cardinals. Rams held Kyler Murray to 173 yards passing. Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns. Played pretty well, considering. But he was 21 of 39. He had an 80.4 passer rating. I know people thought Kenyon Drake had a lot of yards, and at times it seemed that way, but Kenyon Drake only finished with 10 carries for 49 yards and a touchdown. He had a 27-yard run that kind of inflated his his statistical output, and then Chase Edmonds with his 13-yard run, he only had 6 carries for 28 yards. Here's the crazy thing. They said on the broadcast, I believe it was 30 for yards. It might have been Tony Gonzalez who said this at the break. Kyler Murray is 1-8. I believe now he's 1-9 in games in which he doesn't run for at least 30 yards. That's pretty telling, pretty incredible. The leading receiver was Dan Arnold with 2 catches for 61 yards. 59 of them came on pretty much the first play of the game, or one of the first plays of the game on the first drive. And then after that, he caught another touchdown in the red zone. It was just a 2-yard grab. DeAndre Hopkins had a touchdown in this one. Keyshawn Johnson was third on the stat list here, 4 catches, 27 yards. All in all, this Rams defense did what I expected them to do. They held the Cardinals under 100 yards rushing, and they held them under 200 yards receiving. I didn't play Kyler Murray in my fantasy league because I felt like even though he threw 3 touchdowns, I never at once thought Kyler Murray coming into this game was going to outplay Jared Goff. I like Goff coming off a bad game. I feel like he tends to thrive, and he definitely thrived in this one. 38-28, got the offense back on track. He only has 1 touchdown here, but 351 yards passing on 37 of 47. Obviously a touchdown, 7.5 yards per attempt. He was only sacked once, had 104.9 passer rating. It was a very, very good game for Jared Goff and something to build off of moving forward. I know a lot of people were complaining, why weren't they testing deep down the field? I think that was just really the game plan. I think that's ultimately going to be the game plan. I think Sean McVay really just wants the ball taken care of. He believes in this defense, but he knows this defense needs a lead. And whether it's 3-0 or not, they need to be winning. And I think that definitely was the focal point in this one. People were complaining about the dinks and dunks, but you go with the flow of traffic, and when you see a guy blitzing or trying to run blitz, and you can time it perfectly, and drop a delayed handoff or something, or drop basically a running back slip screen, as a guy's approaching you, do that. I mean, you have to do that. So I just thought it was a really nice game plan for Jared Goff. He bounces it back in a big way. Was worried about him coming in this game, but it's weird. I made this video on my YouTube channel, What's Wrong with Goff, and one of the main focal points I had in this was the Rams are not using running backs out of the backfield as pass catchers. So I thought that was really interesting. And then it almost seemed like after I said that and after this was made, it almost seemed like they heard me. Now, I'll never know if they did or not, and quite honestly, I don't really care. If they heard me, cool. If not, I'll live to fight another day. But what I found really interesting when going over this, I broke down the running back receiving game usage in that video. In 2017 to 2018, Todd Gurley and company, keep in mind this is Todd Gurley, Lance Dunbar, Malcolm Brown, you get it, John Kelly, all those guys. Including Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson's in 2019. Never mind. So anyway, 2017 to 2018, the running back receiving game usage, you had 198 targets, 144 receptions, 1,518 yards, 10.5 yards per carry, or yards per catch, and 12 touchdowns total. So you can see that was a big, big element to Goff's game. So, I mean, because it's a big element to Goff's game, it was kind of his bailout, fail-safe, whatever you want to call it, they, for whatever reason, went away from it. Now, Todd Gurley, I get it, he kind of fell off a little bit, but it was a little surprising to see him go away from it so much, because in 2019 to 2020, coming into this game, 111 targets, 72 receptions, 536 yards, 7.4 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. And guess what? Folks, this was impressive, okay? There was not a ton of usage. There was only 4 catches. But those 4 catches went for 77 yards. So 77 yards adding on to 536. And now they're up to 76 receptions, 2019 to 2020 Rams running back group in the receiving game. That is the key right there. The Cardinals had no answer. Do you think it was just, it'll work? No. They had no answer. 19-yard catch for Darrell Henderson where he made a man miss and made something happen in space. Cam Akers had a convoy down the sideline, 22 yards. And then Malcolm Brown made something happen with his 30-yard reception. This is not a coincidence. This works. This is what happens when you go heavy and you're blitzing, and you can take advantage of it. With a delayed handoff or a delayed screen, you can take advantage of overzealous pressure. And I think that's what, the Rams wanted to do in this one, whether they heard me or not. Robert Woods, 10 catches, 85 yards. Cooper Kupp, 8 catches, 73 yards. Gerald Everett, he's been used a lot. 6 catches, 44 yards, had a 22-yard play. Van Jefferson got involved. Kind of weird here. He got thrown in there, 4 catches, 27 yards, and then they were like done with him. So I'd like to see him get more consistent. Van Jefferson seems to catch everything his way, so I'd like to see more of him. Tyler Higbee, 4 catches, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Was good to see him. First off, the Eagles game was great, but if you think that he's been healthy throughout this whole time, you're wrong. I mean, he just hasn't. I think that's why he's quote-unquote fallen off. And then Josh Reynolds with a catch for 21 yards was a really crucial catch, too. He just wasn't utilized as much in this game, but pretty crucial catch. As you know, Greg Gaines recovered a fumble. It was the strip sack from aforementioned Justin Hollins. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Simba Webster fumbled the ball. It was recovered by Trent Sherfield, who was taken off of the Arizona Cardinals practice squad. Moving on, though, the defense. And I want to point this out because they gave up 28 points, but, just think about the starting field position. The fumble on the kickoff, you have to account for that, and I think when you look at this defense, I mean, this is an elite defense, and they have injuries. Troy Reeder was playing in place of Micah Kaiser, and I've been a huge fan of Troy Reeder. I've been defending him because I feel like he leads the league. He leads the team in tackles every time he plays. He misses one tackle and everyone loses their mind, but his pass breakup on third down, I believe it was third down, was very impressive, very nice in coverage. Troy Reeder is growing up before our eyes, but this isn't something that I am shocked by. This is what happens when you draft an undrafted rookie free agent out of Delaware. You force him to play 8 games and start 8 games his rookie year, and then you kind of give him a back seat and all that stuff that he learned from playing because, as we know, experience is king. He eventually applies it, and he continues to grow and get better. So Troy Reeder, to me at this point, I mean, he's a starting caliber player. I know people are going to laugh at that, but I don't really care. Troy Reeder is a starting caliber player. You know who else is having a monster season? John Johnson III. John Johnson III is probably having a top 3 safety season. I mean, he has been phenomenal, and it's kind of funny when you think about how much Seattle gave up for what everybody would say is the best safety in the league, whereas John Johnson's having a better year altogether, and he's been reliable, he's been healthy. Troy Hill, he gets a lot of flack, and, he gave up a touchdown, sure, it's the second, I believe, of his career, but Troy Hill had 2 pass breakups that were huge, and he had a pick 6. So this is somebody that bounced back from his shortcomings. He came back and, he was up for the table. Sebastian Joseph Day needs a mention here. He is playing very, very well as of late. This is somebody that isn't getting enough talk, but you saw his hustle play down the sideline. Sideline to sideline, where he made that play. It was pretty huge. He's just looked a lot better. He also had a pass breakup in which he tipped a pass in the end zone that Kyler Murray was throwing. Jordan Fuller, not his best game, not his worst game. Kind of just, kind of blended in there, didn't really show up a ton. That's not always bad in the secondary. Not everybody is supposed to show up a ton. Justin Hollins with the strip sack, three tackles, 2 hits on the quarterback. You can see it. Justin Hollins is developing. There's definitely a future moving forward. I said, they have control until I believe 2023. So this is somebody that they like a lot. He, meshes with Brandon Staley, who coached him, last season. And I think ultimately this is how the Rams, this is how they react to having their team cap strapped. They're going to get guys like that, and they're going to make the most of them. And that's what they're doing with Justin Hollins. But moving on, Aaron Donald. I mean, what can you say? He had a sack, he had a tackle for a loss, and a quarterback hit. Constant pressure. Obviously, this guy, he was held. He always is. But, I mean, he's just incredible. And, really saw the hustle today from him going after Kyler Murray on those sideline-to-sideline plays. And then Samson Ebukam, I feel like, he got some pressure. He's playing, better. He's not the best, and I truly would rather see Justin Hollins in there for the most part, but I don't think Ebukam's playing terribly. Jalen Ramsey has been awesome. He completely shut down DeAndre Hopkins. I think he allowed, 1 catch for 19 yards. Wasn't covering him for whatever reason in the end zone on that DeAndre Hopkins touchdown. Wasn't really to him. So that was interesting. Leonard Floyd, quieter game, but here's the thing. Leonard Floyd does his job in the run game, and he did a nice job setting the edge. A'Shawn Robinson came in, had a really important tackle and a pass breakup. Really like him moving forward, and the Rams signed to a 2-year deal, so they're probably feeling good about that. Nick Scott came in for a quick hitter, grabbed a tackle, sat out, but I definitely think he has some potential, and I'm really interested to see how the Rams want to develop him, because ultimately I was wrong. I thought he was a special teams guy. It appears to me like he can play special teams, but he also is a defensive safety. And then Obinna Okoronkwo, welcome back. He had a hit on the quarterback. Pretty crazy. He didn't really get involved a whole lot, but when he was out there, he was making DJ Humphries look silly. So that that's kind of look at the defense in a nutshell. Only 48 tackles to 79 of Arizona. It's to be expected. I think the Rams are a better team, and they showed that they're more efficient. So Jared Goff did not turn the ball over today, and the Rams won. So that's a good sign. But moving forward, the Rams, they're going to have to play the Cardinals again, and it's going to be in LA. And, now I feel like this was it wasn't the changing of the guard, but it was kind of letting Rams fans know, even though the Rams pretty much had every reason to win this game, they had every right to win this game, they dominated this game, the Cardinals hung around. And, if that's a sign to come, I mean, that could be a little scary for the Rams. They're starting to figure them out a little bit, if even. So, we'll see. That may not be the case, but, we'll definitely see. But 38-28, what you wanted to see was the Rams putting points on the board and the Rams doing their usual of stopping the defense, holding them to under 24. They didn't do that today, but it's totally fine, because at the end of the day, the Rams got an offensive output that they've been waiting to get for a while. And I think this is, when you look at it, this is huge for the future. This is a Rams offense that was top 6 in total yards. This is a Rams offense that is performing. They're moving the football, but they need to finish with touchdowns. And albeit, they're in the top 15 in touchdowns per red zone appearance, but I need to see better, and an elite team should see better. This team eventually, and I predicted 45-21. I don't think 42-21. I wasn't too far off. I was off by a touchdown with the Cardinals and only 4 points for the Rams. So, anything can really happen, but, I definitely feel confident leaving this game, going into the short week. Happy to see football on Thursday, not have to wait for Rams football. That's going to be fun. But you have to feel confident if you're a Rams fan. This is a big-time win against a team that, is desperate. They're 3-3 at home. They're 6-6 in general. So this is a team that really needed to win today. They did not. And now they have to face the tough Giants that took down the Seahawks. So it's getting really interesting, and we don't know how it's going to go, but the 49ers are still in the thick of things with this loss. If you have to look at anybody who won today, the 49ers definitely won, so did the Rams. So we'll see, moving forward with that, but I just think all in all, this is exactly what the doctor ordered. This is what you needed. And then going into this next game against, New England, it's in LA. So, control your game, make them play to your style. And, if they don't like it, tough, they'll have to switch. So, that's my thoughts on the game. Final score 38-28. Jared Goff plays very well. The defense, really steps up, and the receiver group with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp go over 150 total yards on 18 receptions. So good to see that production. We're going to keep seeing it, I imagine. Again, feeling good the rest of the way, but we will see. Until next time, I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Hopefully Alexis Kraft will be back next time. We'll see. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, if you want to follow us, you can follow us at JKBoganDTSN, at Downtown Rams, and at the Alexis Kraft. Thank you guys so much. You take care. Go Rams, and we will get you guys an awesome, and I mean awesome, preview for the Rams-Patriots game, because we want to get you guys prepared. Thank you guys again. Take care.